video, we will demonstrate the unboxing of the Pocket Optics kit, and we'll cover all the parts that's included and some do's and don'ts with the kit so you could get started with your experiments. So when you get your kit, there are two latches on either side of the lid of the box. So we undo the latches and then take the lid out. And please keep the box with your kit, because in later experiments we're going to be using the box as part of the experimental setups. The first thing you see is there's a pouch, so we're going to take that out, and you're going to see a ruler. Put that aside, and then you're going to see the baseboard. You could grab it by the ball bearing, or you could grab it by the screw right here. Take it out, and that's your baseboard. And then this is the rest of the box. I'm gonna put that aside. So on the baseboard itself, Arduino Nano with a USB-C port, and the laser, and the light sensor display, and the control switch to control on and off of the laser. So both of these switches, position 3 and 4, they are in parallel. Either one of them will turn on the laser. And over here you have a selector switch to display the photometer reading, which we will talk about in a minute, on the display, or pipe that reading through the USB. And over here we have a photometer. So on the photometer we have two switch settings right here. This is to control the LEDs. So you got two sets of LEDs. So you got a blue, red, and green LED on this side, and you have a pure white LED on the other side. And in the middle of it, it's the photodiode, or shorthanded as PD, and this set of switches control the gain selection of the photodiode. So you have 1 microwatt, 10 microwatts, 100 microwatts, and 1 milliwatt of gain selection, and you are only allowed to turn on one switch at a time to select that particular range. So in this case, the switch is on 1 milliwatt setting. When you get your kit, it may or may not be on that setting, but it doesn't matter. You can always flip it on and off, just like that. And some do's and don'ts about using the kit. First of all, you have exposed electronics right here and on the back. So make sure, and as here on the back side of the LSD as well, the light sensor display as well. So make sure you're not shorting these pins with anything that's metallic, right? And that includes the ruler or the case of the laser itself. So you could remove the laser by swinging the S1 clip, and you don't want to be doing this. You don't want to be using the case of the laser body to short these pins. That might cause electric short, and that might cause malfunction of the kit. And you could also swing the cables of the laser, and this is how you could remove the laser, just by swinging this little clip, the S1 clip. Then you could take out the laser and then put it back to its home base, like that. So this is called the baseboard, and then this is called the photometer. So that's the basic idea. And then you could move the photometer in and out of the slots, like that. So there's a little circle right there. If you align the circle to the little dot right in the middle of the detector, then you could slide in the detector to any arbitrary position on the horizontal axis. And likewise, you could use other slots as well. So say, for example, H1. Do the same thing. Let's just move the cable over. So if you're not using the detector, you could park your photometer there temporarily. So the photometer is out of the way of the laser path. And also you could go to H3, doing the same thing. But the cable isn't long enough to reach H2, so what you'll have to do is you might have to loosen up the cable from the cable retaining slot. And then you have a lot longer cable, then you could go to H2 if you choose, if you need to use that for your experiment. So for the time being, let's put the cables back to the cable slot and then park the photometer on H4 for the time being. So we're going to put this aside and then we're going to check the contents of what's in the pouch. So when you first get your pouch, what you want to do is you want to check for missing components. When we ship these, we do a quality control to make sure all the components are in there, but when you first get your kit, just to double check it. So you open up your pouch. First thing you get is a little business card, and that has a QR code on it, and also there's some warning messages about the laser. So just a quick FYI, this is a diode laser with a 5 milliwatt maximum output at 650 nanometer, and this is a class 3A laser. And please try to avoid direct eye exposure, meaning don't look into the laser or don't aim the laser at your friend. So that's, and also on the left hand side, you have a QR code you could scan on your cell phone or on your smart devices, and that's how you could get to the YouTube playlist on the instructions. So let's put that aside. The other thing you're gonna get, it's a bottle of copper sulfate, and this is a 0.5 molar concentration. We're gonna be using this bottle for later experiments, so for the time being, let's put that aside. The other thing you're gonna be getting, it's a piece of fiber optic with a little adapter, and we will use this fiber optic for later experiments. So to sort of neatly pack it, you could make a little simple loop like that and then put them in the pouch if you want to store them neatly. And then we also have a pipette right here for later experiments. And additionally, we have a little 20 by 20 millimeter acrylic piece, which we will use for later experiments. The other thing we have is we're gonna have 4 cuvettes. So let's unpack this really quickly just to check what we have. So it's 4 cuvettes with lids on it. You might get the cuvettes without the lid attached to it, but nevertheless you should get 4 cuvettes with 4 lids on it, with 4 lids included. And to open up the lid, it's just a snap-on. You might need to use your fingernail a little bit to pry it open, but this is how the lid gets put on to the cuvette. So your kit might come with cuvettes and lids separated, but nevertheless it's a 4 full sets of lid and cuvettes. And then now let's check the 4 little cards. So the first thing we'll see is a 500 and 1000 lines per millimeter linear diffraction grating. So you should get a 500 one and you should get a 1000 one. So, and then we have a polarizer. and there's 2 of them, so identical ones. And then we're gonna have a little sample holder for the booster angle experiment, which we will use later. But for the time being, let's just check we have it, and then let's put them aside. And over here we have an acrylic ball. Put that aside. And also we have a polarizer as well. Another additional polarizer, but this one is on the little turntable. So let's put that aside. And then we have a binder clip. And that should be everything in the pouch. And the pouch itself. So now we're gonna go ahead and then power up our kit for the very first time. I'm just gonna move the box away. So to power up the unit, you need a USB-C cable, which is not included in the kit, but most of you should have one, which you use to charge your cell phone. So to keep the environment safe and not producing too many plastic trash and electronic garbage, we elect not to ship the cable, since most of you should have the cable to charge your phone anyway. So you use your cell phone charger to power this guy up. Just USB-C connection. You'll see the LSD is flickering. That's only happening in the video when you, that's some video artifacts when we shoot this video with our camera. But if you see this in actual the LSD live without through the camera, then you wouldn't see the flickering. A couple of things about the USB. One is that if you power up from your laptop, we strongly recommend you to go through a USB hub first between your laptop and the kit. That way, in case you have any accidental short, your laptop is protected. And if you use your cell phone charger, that's not an issue, but still you should be careful not to have your laser body touching and shorting out these pins. Either using the laser body or the stainless steel ruler or anything metallic. So make sure you work on a surface that's not metal underneath, and then, or if you have any metal underneath, so you don't short out these pins. That's very important. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn on the laser. So you could turn on the laser by flipping up either one of the switches. They're in parallel, so if you flip on either one, the laser will turn on, just like that. And then we're gonna collimate the laser. First, we're gonna take out the laser, and we're gonna be turning the knob on the laser, the focusing ring on the laser, and that in turn will change the beam shape and make a tiny dot, and that's when we are either collimating or focusing the laser. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna be putting the laser back in its slot, swing on the clip, and then bring the photometer to the H3 slot, like that. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna rotate the ring until the laser is focused to a tiny dot. So there you go. Now you could see the laser has been focused to a tiny little dot. And then what we could do is we could move the detector left and right in order for the light to be fully positioned within the center of the detector of the photodiode. And then also we select the 1 milliwatt switch on the power range setting for the photometer. So now we could see that our laser, it's about 3.5 milliwatt. So that's how you read the laser power with the photometer. So one thing to note is that if your laser isn't at the right height in relation to the photodiode, you may be able to adjust the height. Let me see if I could get the right camera angle for you by tilting the laser lens up or down. So you might be able to move the laser lens relative to the body a little bit up or down. So you could see that I could adjust the lens ring up or down, and then that in turn will steer the laser beam up and down the detector. So I'm not changing the laser body, right? I'm not changing the cylinder here. I'm just changing the ring. So you could fine adjust the vertical height with limited adjusting range of the laser. So the goal is try to put the laser dot in the middle of the photodiode detector. Let me see if I could get focus right there. And then for the left and right, you could simply adjust the left and right by sliding the photometer in relationship to the baseboard in the slot. So that's how you could position or center the laser beam onto the detector. Then you should get the reading. That's 3.5 or thereabout. Your laser will be different than mine, but that's perfectly normal. And then the other thing too is that if your display doesn't show up, say for example it shows a stable 3 or a stable 0, that doesn't matter. What you want to do is you want to make sure the switch is turned on to on the LSD position to allow the light sensor display to be displayed on the display itself. And if you have it on the USB setting, then the display will be disabled and the data will be sent through the USB. We haven't talked about that yet. We will cover that in the later experiment. But for the time being, for this experiment, you would like to have the light, the switch onto the LSD setting, so you could see the light intensity on the display itself. So that's very important. So this should conclude the full experiment for the experiment 0 and the unboxing of the kit. Thank you very much.